Hey, lady, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good,
Good.
good. So dropped the kids
Yep,
off, home, getting ready for the day. Like, do you
that's
ever
right.
stop?
No, and I do like it that way.
Yeah, and so how old are your two now?
My oldest, my daughter Isla, is about to be 7 next week, and then Max, my son, is going to be 3 in July, so he's 2.5.
Okay. So are they into stuff yet? Like, are they picking activities, dance or sports or all the things?
Yes, my daughter is into the arts, singing, dancing, musical theater, and then my son, he's too young to really start anything yet, but he loves sports. Anything with the ball, anything running, anything fast, mama.
Which I know your husband loves because he was a big baseball player, right?
Yes, it makes him so glad. So happy to know he's geared in that
That's
direction.
right. Well, I have had a couple clients over the years where their kids are just not inclined to do the thing that they loved, whether it was sports or dance or cheer or whatever. And I think it's so hard sometimes as a parent when your kiddos just don't end up loving what you love.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's
and I've had a little bit of that with my daughter in musical theater and singing and dancing. That's what I did and loved to do, and at first she didn't, and it was so hard to step back and just be a neutral participant in her life because I know how much the arts bring you and do for your life because they did for me, but she eventually found her way there, but I had to just
yeah. Yeah. No, and you don't want to nudge, but you kind of do want to nudge.
that's right, that's right.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thank
So,
you
for
for
those of you
having me.
guys watching, Lindsay and I worked together a couple of years ago initially, and then we've done some check-ins incrementally over the last year just to see how she's doing. But I asked her to join me today because she has had a journey that so many of my moms have where she's juggling kiddos schedules and her own lifestyle and just managing now a job, just started a new job, right, in real
Yeah,
estate.
yeah.
So kind of going back into that world. And so I asked her if she'd just catch up with me and talk about what are the new challenges she's facing, what had she learned in our initial work together that she feels like she's continued to implement. So yeah, I'd love to just hear kind of where you are now and what do you feel like is kind of helped you maintain your health and just overall body comp since we worked.
Well, I'm 2.5 years removed from having my son, which we said, and I found you through a friend, thankfully, after I had Max, and I just couldn't get the weight off in the measures that I used to use. And you helped me lose 25 plus pounds in a great, sustainable, healthy way that I didn't feel deprived. And now I've maintained that and even more with your
Mm,
help. Dr. T mentioned that we did a check back in, teaching me how to reverse diet and then come back down again and kind of find that happy medium. And so I'm 30, a little over 30 pounds down in the weight that you and I in our initial meeting said that was best for my height, my body type, my age. And so I'm sitting right in there. I might not be there, but very close thanks to you.
yeah, well, and I think that's the key. I think there are so many ways to lose weight, so
Mm-hmm.
many ways to lose body fat, so many ways to adjust your body, and which of those approaches are going to be sustainable and what's going to allow you to maintain muscle mass. And you're super social. Like that's a part of our conversations. We're always like,
Yeah,
I don't want to have to give up like having friends over and sitting on the patio and
right.
maybe having a glass of wine or going out to dinner, having date night or traveling with my kiddos. And so I think too, you found a way to kind of allow yourself to have some flexibility with life
Right.
that maybe made the process slower than
Yes.
many of us would like. I mean, we all want to have it overnight, right? Who
100%.
doesn't? But I love hearing you say, like, I've continued the progress and I've allowed my body to just naturally do what it was going to do by staying consistent, and not being so extreme about everything.
Right. And
Um,
I feel like what you did for me, what I feel like you're great at is taking people's biggest pain point or their biggest issue in the weight loss, journey, which for me was I was a mom of two young kids. I was working at the time, but not as heavily as I am now. And then you were like, what's your pain point? I love to be social. I love to cook. And you're like, okay, let's tailor a lifestyle. Let me teach you the foundation and then we'll go from there. And everybody's different. Some people don't want to be social. Some people don't have a job outside their home, or some people don't have young kids and don't have that much time to give to that and not get to themselves. So what I loved about you helping me in my weight loss journey is you made it, the barrier to entry was so low. Like, let's take your pain points and let's figure it out and fix them. And then you gave me the tools and foundation. So I can now, 2 years later, still be doing it.
Love that. Love that. And thank you for that. Now, what are you doing for training right now? Because I know you were kind of like jumping around a little bit and doing some strength training, doing some stuff at home just because your son was so young and like you didn't have a lot of flexibility, but now he's in school. So I'm curious, like, have you shifted your training at all, or?
I'm still pretty weight heavy, like you and I talked about. I still work out at home, which I think is absolutely doable. You can get results like that if you're consistent, like you said. So I'm still doing some online free things. Sydney Cummings is what I did when I was with you, and I'm still doing that. And then I'm doing a Pilates weight hybrid called Fit with Coco. And then because I'm post 40, I'm doing a lot of walking and a lot of incline walking.
Yeah, it's the thing. Are you doing the weighted vest I see everywhere? Or?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm like buying and drinking the Kool-Aid on that one. But I mean, I think there's no negative, but I'm not sure it's like making some drastic, impact.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the walking, I think what our research is showing us, to your point, is I think when all these new HIIT type classes came on the scene and the circuit, the little franchise fitness that was pushing these 45-minute hits and all the crazy things. And then, of course, CrossFit had become really popular. And I do think that people that were post 40 or even late 30s, but getting into that stage of where we're seeing like hormone dysregulation and just recovery isn't as easy. And of course, you're managing a lot of other life stress at that age, career and family and all the things. People just aren't recovering and handling that volume the way that they thought that their body could. And I think people are now starting to kind of pull back on the intensity levels a little bit and say, to your point, walking, giving yourself more days in between where you're not doing these packages of unlimited HIIT classes and going 5 or 6 days a week. So I think everybody's body is different, but most of the people that I'm seeing, especially women, are just not able to handle that volume, which is a bummer. It's fun, it's social, it's group class, but I think you got to be really strategic about how many days can I do, and I have to feed that.
Right.
I think we also, it's like we're in a calorie deficit and we're doing these high intensity, really high volume, and most women are not eating enough to sustain that. And so they're seeing muscle breakdown. So you definitely have to find that sweet
happy medium.
For sure.
That was another thing working with you. I feel like a problem for most people, not even women, but people, is they just don't know their baseline, like the caloric, what they need to burn on a regular basis to stay the same. And I think working with you and getting that knowledge of here's what you need to do to stay the same, and here's what you need to do to lose. I think that's different now that I'm in my 40s as it was in my 20s, as it was in my 30s, and certainly post kids.
Yeah.
So I think that knowledge that you gave me really helps set a firm foundation for me going forward.
Yeah. For
calorie wise, macro wise.
The education. I mean, I think so many people don't want to feel like they have to log their food and they have to weigh and they have to measure. And certainly nobody wants to be married to that forever. Right. I think there's an invaluable education of just at some point taking time to learn that and to be able to visualize and know this is what my body needs every day. This is what a plate looks like. This is what a portion looks like. And then you certainly want to be able to kind of step away from that, not do it forever. Right. There has to be a foundation built that you can continue to carry with. So are your kiddos picky? How do you deal with like family dinner time? And like, do you try to get them to, try new things? And, I know you love to cook. So, I want to hear how you manage that, because that's always a challenge.
It is. And especially with time too. Nobody has time to cook 4 meals.
No.
So they're not picky. I mean, certainly they have things that they don't like, but they're not picky, and 98% of the time they eat what we're eating. It might be if we're doing tacos or enchilada casserole, they might have a broken down version of it, a deconstructed version of it, but they're not picky. And I tried really hard to make them not be picky. And I know that's not always in your control, but just expecting like, this is what's for dinner. And you've got at least 1 or 2 things on there that I know you'll like. Everything else, you've at least got to try a bite. And most of the time, they're like, oh, this is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something I get a lot is, and just in messaging, modeling for your daughter, especially, and they're really young now, but as she gets older, and like where you're not eating different than they're eating, and that you guys, can find ways to be eating the same things. Like you said, even if you modify maybe portions for everyone, because your husband's obviously going to need even a different, portion or amount. So I think it's so important though, when you can, families eating the same meal together and just being really mindful of maybe different sides or different amounts, but not saying, well, I'm going to cook this and y'all are going to eat that, because immediately it's like, well, what, like, why does mine better? Is mine different? Is mine, and so I think you just got to be really careful.
Me too. And just kind of, I've been doing this with my daughter, who's almost 7, is implementing the knowledge here and there, little pebbles of, protein. Okay, so you ate cereal today and then you're hungry an hour later. And I'll say, why do you think that is? Because you didn't have, and she'll say, protein. And when she was younger, she goes, protein. I need more protein, Mama.
I love that.
So not in an unhealthy way, but just a kind of a building block of the knowledge. Again, like I was saying, the knowledge is protein makes you more fuller for longer. You need your carbohydrates. You've been playing. So just kind of building a gentle structure around that knowledge for her that I can kind of see paying off is what I've been trying to do.
I love that. I love that, and I don't think you can do it too early. Again, I think it's the language you use. I think it's the emphasis you put on it. I think it's the conversations and making it fun and interactive too. I've found for a lot of my moms, like doing meals that everybody can make together, like tacos, and everybody puts their own stuff in, or mini pizzas where everybody picks their toppings and
their own things.
Involving them in it is really healthy.
Yeah, it helps them get a love for food and a love for the the nutrition behind it, but also the creation behind it, and then the sense of like, I did this, I made this, and I did it with my mom or with my dad. I think those are all cool aspects of food and nutrition too.
No, for sure. Now with real estate, because that's what you're doing now, right? You're out there in the crazy Nashville real estate world. So from my experience with real estate agents, and I certainly don't want to generalize, but you guys are on call all the time, working weekends, open houses, evening showings, all the things. So how have you found that new transition? Easier, harder, just different? Like, what do you feel like has kind of had to shift your overall mindset?
I definitely think it's been harder because there's just, literally less time in my brain to devote to tracking my meals. Did I get 130 grams of protein, or did I, batch my protein? Did I meal prep? Do I have healthy things? That's definitely been harder just because of the time commitment.
Yeah.
But I feel like what you and I worked on so much, again, in that foundation, tracking, what do I know that my day somewhat needs to look like? How do I hit 100 grams of protein? That's so solid in me now that even though I don't have the time, I know what it takes just kind of naturally. And so I can kind of know what my day needs to look like, even on the fly, when I'm ordering out or when I'm grabbing something out of the fridge, how to build that plate to make my day end up like I know it should for whatever result that I'm going for.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, and I think it's every day is going to look different. Doesn't matter if you're a mom or you're not, if you're working, if you're not. Like, most people's day never looks exactly the same.
Right.
But to your point, it's like when after doing it for long enough that like this is what a whole day's worth of food feels like and looks like, and the portions that when you order out, if your salad had 2 ounces of chicken or 6 ounces of chicken, and you're like, oh man, that wasn't very much. I probably need to grab a yogurt later, or I need to add a little more at dinner. So I think you get like that nice foundation, like you said, of filling the gaps, or like you may, hey, I need to pack a little cooler with me so that I have some snacks or some things that if I get stuck and things go longer, I'm always like assume the worst.
Absolutely. Because to me,
make more food.
In a pinch, most people will do what's quickest and easiest, and in this society is not always the healthiest and best for your goals.
Yeah.
So I have been packing a lot lately.
Now, are your colleagues like, do you find it interesting to watch like how other people manage that now that you're kind of around people at work and, not in a negative way, just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like just choices or just different ways people manage that.
I do. And I back to your point about when people say, "Oh, I don't want to be maniacal and log my food or weigh my food." And so then we'll be out together and ordering, and then they'll be frustrated with, where they want to be and they're not there yet. And then I see the choices they make, and I'm like, you need Dr. Tiff. But, I just was thinking about it like this. Like, I am kind of an overall general person. I don't like weighing my protein, weighing my almond milk, or like measuring my almond milk. But it's like a job, right? You're not going to get a new job and go sell a product or learn a new industry without training. So the training sometimes is boring and foundational. But once you get it, you can kind of soar and go off into the world and do your thing because you've got that base knowledge. And I feel like that's what I got from you, was that good foundation, that good knowledge. And yes, the time consuming part of, meal prep, learning what my body needs, and then seeing the results. I felt like that was something that just stuck with me, that's value for a lifetime that I'll take.
Yeah, just life lessons.
Yeah.
Like you said, just strategies you would use with any situation, any career or
That's
school,
right.
or like study skills or leadership skills or all the things. Yeah, I love the way you said that.
And putting in that time, we worked together for a long time, and every single time you would have feedback for me. And so I would just take that and, tweak it and build this plan that I thought, okay, this is how it works. And, that is sometimes monotonous and not fun and boring and tedious. And I think that's what people don't want to give their time towards, if that makes sense. But once they do, then it's like on autopilot.
Yeah, nobody wants uncomfortable. Nobody wants hard. Nobody wants difficult.
Sure, that's human nature.
Struggle, right? But we know in the struggle comes strength, and the pain becomes purpose, like all the things. But it is still hard in that moment to make that choice when you have other options.
Yes,
for sure. And so, all right. So before we wrap up, I'd love to just hear, like, what are your goals now? Like, what's next on the horizon? Like, do you feel like you're just like in a solid groove, or are you somebody that always has like a something, like I want to do this or this performance goal, or so what's next for you?
I feel like, and this might be like an intro to you and me working together again.
Okay.
I feel like I maybe roller coaster a little, like a lot of people. They put in the time and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this for 6 weeks, for 12 weeks. And they do it. And then they get to the top of the mountain and they coast a little bit. And then because they're not, their eye isn't on the prize as much anymore, it's kind of like, I was real social over the holidays. And then my birthday happened. So I think that I'm kind of looking to tone back up for summer, like everybody, and just find maybe those new macros, that new protein goal, what I need to be doing on a daily basis that does fit within my busy lifestyle now, and how that can move me forward to my goals.
Yeah, and I think it's good to have goals, like you said, even if it's nothing extreme, but just like just getting yourself like a different structure, or like you said, life changes, a new transition, whether it's, changing jobs or, kiddos get into their summer schedule. I see that a lot. And then there's like a different cadence to the daily stuff. So I love that. I love that. Well, I so appreciate you coming on with me today and catching up. Good to see your smile. That always makes
me love you and appreciate you.
Well, thanks so much. And hopefully I'll see you soon and we can work on those new goals.
I hope so. Thank you.
All right. See you.
Bye.